Hello everyone, back to you into today's first video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next 30 days for the UK and for the rest of Europe as well. We're doing the ECMWF 30-day look ahead. So these are broken down to weekly periods. It takes us pretty much through the whole of March. We'll have a look at temperature and precipitation anomalies for the next 4 weeks for the UK and for the rest of Europe as well. Can't show you mean sea level pressure or 500 millibar heights, but from the temperature and precipitation you can get a rough idea what model is forecasting. So that's what we're doing for our first video, and then later on we'll have your regular week 10-day video update with all of the usual features. The Hungarian Met Office for this one, so a big thanks to them for supplying us with the charts. Right, so we start off with the week 1 temperature anomaly. It's week 10 for the year for 2020, and we can see that the warmest temperatures across the eastern side of Europe again this week, so significantly above average temperature anomalies here across the far east of Europe and into west of Russia. 6 to 10 degrees above average. There's a little area there in the west of Russia that's over 10 degrees above average, so it remains exceptionally hot on the east side of Europe. More widely, between 3-6 degrees above average down this eastern side of Europe. Western Europe looks a little bit cooler, so for the UK and for Ireland we're only around average or even maybe a little bit below. Also France, west parts of Germany and the Low Countries coming out quite close to average. Scandinavia is warmer than average across southern parts of Scandinavia, so sort of Denmark, South Sweden and Norway, but central northern parts of Scandinavia actually a little bit cooler or colder. In the Mediterranean, we see that Spain and Portugal has above average temperatures, as does many of these eastern parts of the Med from Italy eastwards. In between, around southern France, ever so slightly cooler there. Precipitation-wise, it was very unsettled in the week ahead from the 2nd to the 8th of March. So we're talking about significantly above average precipitation across much of France, a little bit wetter than average for the UK and for Ireland as well. Up to Scandinavia, above average precipitation there, away from the west of Norway anyway, where it's a bit drier than average. In fact, most places are kind of a little bit wetter than average or quite significantly wetter than average. There are very few places that are drier than average. One area is southern parts of Spain and Portugal, but central basin of the Mediterranean doesn't look too bad. Anyway, around the Balearic Islands, it's a little bit wetter for Corsica and Sardinia, and Italy also rather wet over the Adriatic into this southeast corner around the Balkans. Looks quite wet there. And then into southeastern corner, it is drier through parts of Greece and Turkey. Overall, quite an unsettled scene this week, I think, across many parts of Europe, with low pressure and the jet stream coming in again from off the Atlantic. Just a little bit more higher pressure up here, perhaps, tending to send the jet stream a bit further south, and so that explains why not only is it very unsettled for western parts of Europe, it's also a little bit cooler as well. We go through to week 11, which is week 2 for our forecast period. That's how we're looking. So again, exceptionally mild on this eastern side of Europe and into the west of Russia. Deep red colours there indicating temperature anomalies of 6 to 10 degrees above average. More widely from sort of Scandinavia down this eastern side of Europe, you see temperature anomalies of 3 to 6 degrees above average. And even across western parts of Europe, generally we're a bit above average at 1 to 3. For the extreme west, it is a bit cooler, so for much of the UK and for Ireland, the west of France down into north and west Spain and into Portugal, there we see temperature anomalies either around average or have no signal, or maybe even, certainly for the Republic of Ireland, a little bit colder than average. Also Iceland looking quite cold. But from the extreme western side of Europe, most places are significantly above average with their temperatures again through this week. Into the Med, again, it's a very warm scene, really mild scene, above average temperatures through most parts of the Med. Now, it remains unsettled for week 2. This is the second week of March. There have been hints that we will get some drier weather going across western parts of Europe in this second week of March. The ECMWF 30-day model was one of the models that was more sort of in line with that and was really pushing the idea that we would get this drier spell setting up in the second week of March. Now it has changed on that idea. So this northwestern part of Europe remains unsettled with above average precipitation through France, through Ireland, through much of the UK, Low Countries, northern Germany, Denmark, into particularly southern parts of Norway and Sweden. It continues to be above average with precipitation there through this week. So unsettled weather goes on. Then we've got these eastern parts of Europe and some central parts of Europe, kind of like from eastern Germany eastwards, where we have average precipitation. And down in the Med, actually, it looks relatively dry in many areas. Only sort of weakly dry of an average, but really from Spain and Portugal in the west of the Black Sea, looks a little bit drier there, although Turkey may be a little bit on the wet side. The big change there is for northwest of Europe, where instead of having drier weather, we're now looking quite unsettled through that second week of March. That's how we're looking at week 3. Week 12 for the year takes us from the 16th to the 22nd of March. This one, again, is above average across most parts of Europe. The extreme west does look a little bit closer to average for Ireland and the UK, and also down to Portugal and northwestern parts of Spain. But that aside, it's generally above average. We lose intensity of the anomaly. So we're talking about 3 to 6 degrees above average really now across many east parts of Europe and western Russia. That could just be because that little bit further out, and so the signal is weakening slightly. It looks a very mild week, this, across most parts of Europe. Really from France in the west over to west of Russia, temperature anomalies being forecast to be above average. Most parts of the Med also forecast to be above average, particularly the central part of the Med. Precipitation-wise, not quite as unsettled in the northwest, but perhaps still hints at being a little bit above average with precipitation for parts of Scandinavia, also for northern western parts of Scotland. The signal is weakening, as it always does, the further out we go. Eastern parts of Europe, from Poland over to west of Russia, a little bit drier than average. Western parts of Europe has average precipitation or no signal. Basically, the further out we go, the more the model is struggling to ascertain what's going on. And then finally, we get through to week 4, which is the 23rd to 29th of March. It's week 13 for the year. It takes us pretty much to month's end. And we look like that. So above average temperatures on this far eastern, northeastern part of Europe at 3 to 6 degrees above average. More widely, most parts of Europe are at around 1 to 3 degrees above average. The extreme west, Ireland, UK, France, Spain, Portugal, as have been throughout the month of March, closer to average. So for the extreme west of Europe, it does look as though March will be a cooler month, really, compared to January and February. And then finally, precipitation, we start to go drier than average across western parts of Europe. That's a change, though, from the ECM. The ECM was forecasting drier weather through the second week of March. It's now pushed that back, really, west of Europe until the 4th week of March. So that's quite a big change. Eventually, it does get there to higher pressure and some drier conditions across the west of Europe. Otherwise, most parts of Europe have no signal for their precipitation. So, I mean, it's quite a change, this, for March. March is now looking at a more unsettled month for the western part of Europe, and not all that mild either, actually quite close to average with temperatures, which of course is going to mean that compared to average, it's a cooler month than we've had for quite a while, as we have had very substantially above average temperature anomalies in the UK. And much of Western Europe over the past few months. So that's a bit of a change. And looking more unsettled across Western Europe as well for March. It's not until the very end of the month now that the ECM is producing something drier. Across the northern and east parts of Europe, it remains much, much milder than average, with very significantly above average temperatures. That's been the case for several months now, of course. Just a snapshot of what the model is showing. It could all look very different next week. Any forecast beyond 5 to 7 days is unreliable. We'll be back later on with your week to 10-day video update, so come back for that then. That's all for now, though, and thanks for watching.